In the Kingdom of Dragons Elvasti there was a dragon named Gramvint, the Crimson Black Dragon. Legends say that the kingdom would prosper as long as this dragon existed, and the woman who cares for Gramvint was known as the Dragon Saintess. Currently, Lydia Walt was the Dragon Saintess. Lydia had a good relationship with Master Gramvint the dragon, and one day she asked if he would like to fetch some monster meat. He said that he didn't need it now, but it was time for him to enter his slumber. He was going to sleep for a long time. When Gramvint talks about sleep, he means hibernation. It was different from ordinary sleep. When he hibernated, he might remain asleep for more than a year. Wondering when he would wake up next, Lydia promised to be by his side every day, even if he was asleep. Gramvint told her to do as she wished, and then wondered if it wasn't time for her to get married. Lydia didn't think marriage was for her. She said that the only place she belonged was by his side, and besides, she believed that no one would want a woman like her. After Master Gramvint went to sleep, Lydia returned to her room. Her room was so simple compared to Gramvint's. She was upset because her only friend was going to enter his slumber soon. She tried not to feel sad about it and decided to prepare for tomorrow when her doorbell rang. A butler came and informed Lydia that Prince Edik was requesting to see her. Lydia was surprised by this sudden request. Prince Edik was the crown prince of the kingdom and the first prince, and he was also her fiancé, though she haven't seen him at all recently. He wasn't actually his fiancé, he was the fiancé of the Dragon Saintess. She said she would get ready immediately, but the butler told him to hurry because the evening banquet was about to begin. She got ready quickly and went to see Edik. Edik seemed annoyed that she kept him waiting. She apologized and said she was taking care of Master Gramvint. Edik then noticed what she was wearing and asked if she was planning to attend the banquet like this. She said she hadn't heard about the banquet and she came because your highness summoned her. He told her that even if it wasn't about a banquet, she should dress a bit more appropriately when meeting. He then told him to follow him and went to his office. He sat down and he suddenly told her that he was breaking off their engagement and was relieving her from her role as the Dragon Saintess. Lydia couldn't believe what she just heard. Edik continued saying that even if it wasn't her, there wouldn't be any problem taking care of the Crimson Black Dragon Gramvint because a new Dragon Saint had appeared. Lydia was a lot surprised because that should be impossible. Edik believed that he wasn't being heartless and said he had already arranged her next. He said she was naive and didn't know much about the world, but there was a man in their army and he was called the Black General Wilfred. Lydia was going to marry him. Lydia wanted to object to this, but she knew she had no right. She asked if her father agreed to this and Edik said yes. Since even her father was okay with it, she had no choice but to accept. And so, on this day, she was relieved of her position as the Dragon Saintess, and Prince Edik broke off his engagement with her. She wanted to see Master Gramvint one last time and he was sleeping. She wouldn't even be able to say goodbye to him, and she at least wanted to thank him, because thanks to Master Gramvint she was never alone. While swiping the floor, she realized that this was going to be the last day she would use this tool. After that, she packed her luggage and left her room, wondering if there was anything Master Gramvint needed. She saw a black-haired man in the hall and he greeted her. She was surprised that he knew her name. She said that she had been relieved of her duties as the Dragon Saintess, and he could just call her Lydia. She then asked who he was, and he said he was Wilfred Osnell. He was the man she was supposed to marry. She asked what he wanted. He said that it would be best to reconsider the matter of their marriage. He said he would inform Prince Edik himself, and he would definitely convince him that she and he weren't suitable for each other. He came to let her know this. Lydia didn't oppose anything because Sir Wilfred holds a high position as a general, while she was just a woman dismissed from being the Dragon Saintess. It was only natural that they weren't suited for each other. Wilfred said he would escort her to the carriage, and if she had any other luggage, he would ask his subordinates to carry it. She said this was all her luggage, and there was nothing left in the room. Wilfred escorted her to the carriage as he said, and she thanked him. She told him not to worry about the marriage and that she could manage on her own. He was calling her Lady Lydia, but she said he could just call her by her name as she wasn't the Dragon Saintess anymore. Wilfred wanted to offer his apology for something. Lydia told him that it wasn't his fault and there was no need for anything. She said she would pray for him to find a happy relationship in the future and thanked him. After that, she returned to the Walt family manor, and her father, Count Walt, started scolding her the moment he saw her. He said that this was a disgrace to their family. Even though they met for the first time in years, her father was still the same as ever. Her parents hated her appearance. Her silver hair and blue eyes were because they didn't resemble anyone in the family, but her elder sister was different. Her mother passed away from illness, and soon after her father brought in a new wife. The second wife came with a daughter who had creamy-colored hair and a perfect appearance befitting the Walt family. Her name was Leila. Leila told her father not to worry because she was the true Dragon Saintess. Lydia didn't expect her to be the Dragon Saintess. Leila reminded Count Walt that Prince Edik said there was no problem for their family anymore, and the Walt family was safe now. She said that Prince Edik acknowledged it, so she was the one and only Dragon Saintess for this country. Count Walt asked Lydia why she returned. Lydia explained that Prince Edik had already decided her future, but the person she was supposed to marry rejected her. Leila made fun of her for being rejected and asked if she thought being in this house gave her a chance to mend things with Prince Edik. She said that was impossible, because Prince Edik loved her. Lydia already knew that she was only the prince's fiancée because she was the Dragon Saint, and she never loved him at all. Her stepmother asked what they were going to do with Lydia. Having her here might interfere with Leila's marriage. Leila suggested sending her to Viscount Brangus because he had wanted Lydia after all. Count Walt liked this idea because the Viscount would accept her immediately. He told Lydia to never come back home, even if the Viscount threw her out, confirming that Lydia was just a burden to this family. She regretted even returning to this place. Once again, she hopped into the carriage and headed to the Viscount's house. She found no point in going there though because she knew he would reject her just like Lord Wilfred. She noticed that the flying dragon was free and wished that she could just ride one once. She believed it might make her feel smaller than she did now. With her appearance so different from everyone else, her silver hair, and losing her role as the Dragon Saintess, she had nothing left in this world. Suddenly, someone screamed at them to wait. Lydia was startled because this person was Wilfred. He said that he didn't know she had nowhere to go and begged him to forgive him. He said he had come to take her and wanted to go back together. Shocked, Lydia asked why he was here, but Wilfred just hugged her very tightly, which made her even more confused. The driver explained to Wilfred that he was merely following Count Walt's orders by escorting the young lady to Viscount Brangus's residence. Wilfred told him that he would be taking Lydia with him now and told him to inform Count Walt's household about this. He offered his hand to her and asked her to go back together. Even though she wondered why he said he wouldn't marry her, she still held his hand because she had no other place to go. Wilfred told her that he wouldn't force her to marry him. For now, he decided to return quickly. He asked Lydia if she was ready and told her to hold on tight. And with that, they started riding a flying dragon. Lydia couldn't believe her wish came true this quickly. Wilfred asked if she felt cold because the air up here was different from the ground. He took out his cloak and put it on her to keep her warm. Lydia couldn't help but giggle and pointed out that his tone suddenly changed. Wilfred's face started blushing and he said he was so frustrated that he acted unconsciously. She once again reminded him that she was no longer the sacred Dragon Saintess, so there was no need for formalities. She was also not returning to Count Walt's estate, so she was no longer a noble. Wilfred apologized to her for leaving her without realizing she had no place to go and asked her to forgive him. She said that it wasn't his fault and he shouldn't trouble himself over it. She asked how he knew she was there. He said that he was on his way to see Prince Edik to reject the marriage proposal. By chance, he met Miss Leila from Count Walt's household, and she told him she had gone to Viscount Brangus's estate, so he hurried there. He said he was going to take her to his home now and added that even if she refused, he would still take her with him. She didn't want to inconvenience him, so he comforted her that it was no inconvenience at all. Whatever her opinion may be, he was going to take her home. She asked if she would really stay for a while, and he replied that she could stay as long as she liked and that he would always protect her. Lydia was a bit embarrassed, but still asked him to speak to her more casually without formality. Wilfred seemed surprised at first, and then he told her to call him Fred. His name was long, so she could simplify it this way. Lydia giggled and said she would be in his care. When Fred said he would always protect her, it felt like a real promise to Lydia. When they returned to the Wilfred Palace, the butler was surprised that Fred returned early today. He told him that there was an urgent matter and ordered him to prepare the food immediately. Lydia's stomach had been growling since she was on the dragon's back. The butler said he would request dinner to be prepared and send a servant to his room at once. But he said there was no need for a formal dinner, and he must bring food as quickly as possible. When they took their seats at the table, Fred asked if she really haven't eaten anything since breakfast. The butler suggested that he go if he had work, but he said he would take this time to eat. He told Lydia to eat comfortably, and they started eating. The food was delicious. It was the first warm meal she had had in a long time. Today had been eventful since morning, and she was still thinking about how Fred broke the carriage door with his hands and carried it himself. She couldn't believe he did that with his bare hands. Despite being called the fearsome Dark General, he truly seemed like an amazing person. After dinner, he asked if there was anything she needed. The servants had prepared a hoy bath for her as well. She said that everything was perfect and thanked him. She said that she was going to look for a job tomorrow and leave as soon as she could. Fred told her that there was no need for her to leave and that she could stay here as long as she wished. She said she didn't want to be a burden on him and thanked him for the meal. After that, they wished each other good night, and he left her room. Lydia opened her luggage and applied her daily hand cream. It had become part of her daily routine to apply this cream, but it was almost finished. Now that she was free, she could buy more if she had money, and wondered where this cream was sold. She remembered once when the dragon was injured. She was summoned as the Dragon Saintess to calm it. After that incident, she found a beautiful jar left in front of her, and she thought it might be a token of thanks for helping deal with the dragon back then. She hoped to meet whoever gave it to her one day to thank them personally. It had been a great help, especially since she often works with water. She would have to work hard to earn money and buy one herself. Tomorrow she was going to begin searching diligently for a job, and she thought there would be a job suited for her. The next day, the weather was beautiful. She prepared herself for the day, and her door was knocked on. It was Fred asking her if she would like to have breakfast together. She didn't know she could have breakfast with him, and he said they were living together, so it was natural. At breakfast, Lydia asked how long she could stay here. He said that there was no need to pressure herself with work and no need to rush in searching for a job. She could stay at his home without worry. Lydia asked if he had a job for her and said she would do anything he asked. He asked if she could deliver food to the night's squad today. She said she would do it right away. He said he would come to pick her up and left for work. The next day, Lydia was in the carriage and they had just arrived. Suddenly, Fred slammed open the carriage door and asked if she had been waiting long. Startled, she said she had just arrived. He asked if something had happened because she was sitting in the corner like that and her face looked flushed. She said she felt a slight palpitation. Fred put his hands on her waist and helped her to get out of the carriage. She said she could have climbed down herself and he was really strong. He said it was fine because she was so light. Leila came and saw Lydia. She asked what she was doing here and why she was here. She said she was looking for Mr. Wilfred. She was still confused as to what she was doing here. Before Lydia could say something, Wilfred shielded her and told Leila to stay away from Lydia. He said that he had already refused her request. Leila didn't understand why he would refuse to protect her, even though he reveres the Dragon Saintess. Lydia didn't expect her to ask Wilfred to protect her. Wilfred told Leila that respect for the Dragon Saintess didn't mean he should accept what he didn't want, so he refused her request. Lydia was confused because if she were staying in the dragon's cage all day, she wouldn't need protection. Once again, Leila asked why Lydia was here. The smile on her face was distorted. Leila said that standing next to Mr. Wilfred in such a filthy appearance was inappropriate. Wilfred told Leila to stop insulting Lydia and reminded her that any insult to her he considered directed at him. After that, he guided Lydia inside and ignored Leila. Leila was pissed at her even though she didn't do anything. Inside, Fred asked to have lunch together because they had prepared plenty of sandwiches. He asked if Leila had always liked this. Say said she hadn't seen her for about a year, so she wasn't sure, and asked if he meant her elder sister. She said that he didn't need to worry because what she said was true. She didn't pay much attention to her appearance, but there was no need for him to defend her because it might affect his reputation. They were merely strangers, and the insults directed at him were not intended for him. Fred responded that he didn't want them to be strangers. He confessed to Lydia that he had always wanted to marry her. Before breaking off the engagement with Lady Lydia, he asked Prince Edik to reconsider his marriage to Miss Lydia because he couldn't believe that he would marry her to someone as harsh and unworthy as him. Even if the engagement were annulled, her accomplishments and all that she had achieved made such treatment harsh and unjust to her. Moreover, she was still only 18 years old and he was 30 years old. He said that there couldn't be harmony between them. Prince Edik asked if he was unwilling to marry. He said that he held a noble title and on top of that he was a general. He believed that he was better than most nobles. But since he refused, there was nothing he could do. Wilfred asked why Lady Lydia wasn't a Dragon Saintess anymore because she didn't believe she had committed any wrongdoing. Prince Edik stated that the light disappeared. Lydia's Dragonstone no longer glows. It was said that the Dragonstone only lights up when the Dragon Saintess appears, and after decades of the light being extinguished, Lydia emerged. But now, another stone had lit up. In this case, they decided that the one who caused the new stone to shine was the Dragon Saintess. Wilfred couldn't believe what he was hearing. After that, Leila entered the room and said he was glad to meet him. Wilfred asked why she was here. He recalled Leila when she proposed marriage to him. Edik told him that Leila was the new Dragon Saintess. Wilfred asked if that was true and Leila confirmed it. She then asked if he could be her personal guard. She said she was the only Dragon Saintess in the country, and it would be a fitting tribute for a general of his statue to accompany her. Wilfred asked what was going to happen to Lydia, and she said she had sent her to Viscount Brangus. She said that even if she seemed miserable, the Viscount desired her. It seemed someone refused to marry her, but the Viscount was wealthy so she could live a comfortable life. At that moment, without saying a word, Wilfred rushed to Lydia. Back in the present, he asked Lydia to marry him. Lydia was confused because he could have much better marriage, but he told her that the only person he wanted to marry was her. She said that people would mock him because of her shabby appearance if he stayed with her. But he didn't care what people said and he wanted to at least get engaged. Lydia asked if he was serious. He said that he was, and added that she could stay with him at the mansion without hesitation. Lydia thanked him, but she still wanted to find a job to prove herself. He respected her decision since that was what she wanted. In the next scene, they were at the mansion, and it was time for dinner now. He told her to choose any dress she liked and wear it. He said he would get ready too and come by her room to escort her. Lydia had already loved a dress and thanked him. When she wore her dress, Lydia realized that she needed to tell him something important if they were truly going to get married. At dinner, he asked if she needed anything, and he would provide her with everything she needed. Say said she had everything she needed and thanked her for this amazing dress. He was glad she liked it and then remembered that she mentioned she wanted to work. He suggested taking care of his wyvern with a salary. Excited, Lydia asked if she could really take care of it. He said she could and he wanted her to do it. Taking care of a wyvern was a dream come true, and Lydia was so grateful. She asked what its name was, and he said his name was Bren. He was a bit of a stubborn wyvern, but he was special, so he trusted that she would handle it perfectly. When he brought him to the mansion, he would leave his care to her. Lydia would do that with pleasure. It would be an honor for her to take care of him. He said he would bring him to the mansion tomorrow at noon, and they would have lunch here. Lydia was looking forward to tomorrow eagerly. The next day, Lord Fred returned with Bren. Lydia welcomed him and Bren. She seemed to hesitate for a moment, so Fred asked if something was wrong. She said that Bren was so handsome and was truly amazing. She remembered seeing him once and asked if his injury was okay. It was during the grand mission to eliminate the monsters. He was the wyvern that returned injured with the knights. She recalled he was so fierce that none of the other mages could get near him, so she used healing magic to treat him when she was the Dragon Saintess. She never imagined he was Lord Fred's wyvern, and said she was really happy to see him in good health now. She asked if it was time for Bren's meal as well, and Fred responded that it was. He looked quite shocked. She suggested having their meal with him because the lunch was prepared near the small river over there. Fred asked if she really remembered Bren. She said that she treated his injuries back then and he was just a majestic, beautiful wyvern. He said that he was a great help at the time, and he said he owed her his gratitude. He apologized for his delay in thanking her. She said her joy was in being able to assist him. Suddenly, Mr. Fred approached her face and whispered to her ear, asking if she could take care of him too. Shaking, Lydia tried to say that she didn't forget him. In the next scene, they gave Bren's share of the food, and Lydia noticed that Fred dozed off a bit. She asked what was wrong, and he said he was wondering if there could be an unexpected rival for him. Lydia was confused and said it seemed complicated. After lunch, Lydia started playing in the water with Bren and said she never imagined she would enjoy this. Bren seemed to like her hair too, and this made her wonder if all wyverns preferred silver hair, because even Gramvint liked her silver hair. Suddenly, Bren started flying and she seemed sad. Fred asked what was wrong, and she said Bren flew away. He said that it was no surprise he would fly somewhere because he was a wyvern, and he would return by nightfall. Fred went into the water to say that, so she was worried that his clothes would get wet. He said he would change later and complimented her silver hair. On his knees, he said that the reflection of the light on the water made it even brighter and more stunning. Lydia was shocked that he thought her hair was beautiful. He said that he liked the color of her hair and it was a color that suited only her. She said that she also loves its color, and she loved him too, because he was mature, calm, and gave her a sense of security, just like Gramvint. He started touching her hair and said he would do his best to make her love him even more. Meanwhile, at Prince Edik's mansion, Leila learned that Fred was engaged to Lydia. Prince Edik confirmed to her that they were engaged, and since she was no longer the Dragon Saintess, there was no issue with it. Lord Wilfred, who holds a high position as a general with his prestigious status and handsome appearance, has always been someone everyone aspires to marry, yet he has never been engaged to anyone. And compared to him, Lydia spent most of her time in Gramvint's giant birdcage, and in social circles, she was nicknamed the Canary Princess. She was seen as eccentric, living among dragons, and yet, despite so many noble daughters wanting to marry him, Lydia was the one who was going to marry Mr. Wilfred. Prince Edik asked about Gramvint because the report hadn't been submitted yet, and he told her to make sure to include his condition during hibernation as well. When Leila said she was very busy, he then told her not to attend tonight's dinner banquet because caring for Gramvint was her priority. Leila didn't expect him to treat her like that. She had no idea what was going on in that prince's mind. He broke off his engagement with Lydia so easily and then got engaged to her. She thought he was a simple-minded prince. She said it would be rude not to attend and said she was definitely going. Prince Edik asked if she could manage that, because she had to clean Gramvint's body right now. She said that wasn't a problem, and called 3 maids to order them to take care of Gramvint's body. The maids told her that they couldn't do that, but she said she was asleep and they could just do it quickly. No one visits the cage anyway, so there was no need to worry. Maid tried to explain to her that they couldn't approach him alone, and if someone saw them, they might get into trouble. Leila told them to say they came to clean her room, but the maids insisted that they couldn't do it without the Dragon Saintess present, and asked her to come along. Leila was annoyed, but she knew no one would dare approach this massive dragon if it wasn't Lydia. She said she had no choice and told them to fetch her a dress from the Count Walt family. She couldn't raise suspicion about the Dragon Saintess right now because she had finally gotten engaged to Prince Edik. Suddenly, an earthquake happened, and Lydia appeared out of nowhere asking if he was alright. Confused, Leila asked what was going on, but Lydia was only interested in Gramvint. Wilfred was also with her and asked what that earthquake was. He said he would see Prince Edik to ask about the situation and told her to go back to her room because there might be aftershocks. She returned to her room and waited for Wilfred. On the day when Lydia became the Dragon Priestess, an earthquake occurred for the first time in over a decade, so Prince Edik had a bad feeling about it. He wondered if the change in the Dragon Priestess had caused something to happen and decided to go to Lord Gramvint. He wanted to hear Gramvint's thoughts. He prayed that he would wake up, but Gramvint was sleeping, and Lady Leila wasn't with him. He asked where Lady Leila was, and according to the butlers, she hadn't come here for several days. At this rate, it was as if she were neglecting her duties as the Dragon Priestess. He slammed open her door and she was sitting on her couch drinking tea. She seemed happy to see him and asked if he had come to see her. Prince Edik asked if she knew why he came here. She thought he came to see his fiancée. He responded that his fiancée was supposed to be the Dragon Priestess and asked what she was doing in a place like this, leaving Lord Gramvint neglecting her duties. Leila told him that even she needed a break sometimes, but Edik told her that taking care of Lord Gramvint was a task that only the Dragon Priestess could fulfill, and he only allows the Dragon Priestess to stay by his side. If any other human were near him, it would only provoke his anger. Leila asked if there had been any change in Lord Gramvint, and she said she had been asleep the whole time. That means the earthquake wasn't related. He told her that she must properly fulfill her duties as the Dragon Priestess, but Leila told him to pick her up for the night's banquet. He told her that if she was planning to attend the banquet, she must finish her work by then. Until that time, he was going to be in his office, and he told her to come see him before it started. When he was returning to his office, he saw Wilfred and Lydia. He commented that he was handling things well. Wilfred asked if he was watching. He said he came here for business with the knights and didn't expect to see Lydia smiling like that. Wilfred said he wouldn't let him take Lady Lydia and that he had decided to marry her. He said that that would be better for Lady Lydia because he wouldn't have been able to handle it. Wilfred wasn't sure he could either because her heart belonged to Lord Gramvint. But Prince Edik mentioned that it was his first time he had seen Lady Lydia act like that, and she seemed to care for him. She once told Edik she had no intention of truly being his wife, and even suggested that he take a concubine or a second wife. She said the same thing to Wilfred too. Edik said he was completely different from him. Say wanted to be by his side even if it was just as a shadow. Lydia and Wilfred were both so reserved with their emotions. They always seemed calm, so it was hard to tell if they were embarrassed. Edik said if there was any strange activity in the area, he wanted Wilfred to let him know immediately, and that's why he came to tell him. They were currently investigating, but it should have been reported that the nearby mountain collapsed due to the earthquake. Edik told him to report it at any time if there was anything else. The next day, Lydia woke up early after taking care of Gramvint for so long. She went to take care of Bren and noticed that even in the town, the morning mist looked so dense. She noticed that the morning mist was thicker than usual. Bren seemed to notice that too. Lord Fred came and asked what brought her here so early in the morning. She said she woke up and couldn't fall back asleep. Fred noticed that Bren liked her. He was a difficult wyvern and hadn't warmed up to anyone but him before. Lydia was so happy to hear that. Her face was so cute that Lord Fred started blushing. She asked if he was heading to work. He said he was, and he wasn't sure if he would make it back in time for breakfast. So he told her to go ahead and eat without him. She said she wasn't in a hurry and she would go to the town for a bit. She said it would be nice if they could have breakfast together when she got back. Fred was shocked that she was going to town this early. She wanted to see what the town was like, and she had just received her pay recently, so she wanted to visit some shops. Fred informed Lydia that even if she went to the town, the shops wouldn't be open this early. She had no idea because she had been by Lord Gramvint's side since she was a child after all. But this morning mist bothered her, so she still wanted to go to the town. Fred said the mist had been increasing lately, and they were currently investigating it. The source seemed to be a forest near the town, but the mist there was so thick all day that it had been difficult to investigate. Even so, Lydia wanted to go. Fred asked if something was bothering her. She said that if she focused hard enough, she could sense a faint trace of a dragon's presence in the mist, and if she went to an area where the mist was thicker, she might find something. Fred didn't know she could sense a dragon's presence. She could sense only a little, and she couldn't be sure until she checked it out. But it felt like she was being called. The increase in mist was concerning, and there was definitely something going on. Fred said the forest was dangerous because monsters lived there, and the knights went on daily patrols. She said she would be fine because she could use magic. She had even hunted monsters to gather food for Lord Gramvint before, so she was used to dealing with them. Fred trusted that she would be okay, but still, he decided to come with her. He was planning to investigate anyway, so it would be good. She thanked him and said she was looking forward to his help. At work, Fred asked the knights about the current state of the investigation. They still haven't found the source of the mist, and the monsters have become more active, making it hard to progress. The knight couldn't help but ask why he would bring her to such a dangerous place just because he didn't want to leave her side. Lydia was right next to him. The knight told him that monsters were coming from the depths of the forest and it was too risky. Fred asked if monsters were swarming. The visibility was poor due to the mist, and on top of that, the monsters made it challenging. Suddenly, Lydia pointed at something and said the source of the mist was over there. She then asked the knight if he was hurt. He said it was just minor injuries and remembered that he hadn't introduced himself. His name was Ulrich, and he also served as Lord Wilfred's steward. Lydia didn't want him to be so formal, but he had no choice as she was Wilfred's fiancée. Lydia wanted to heal the wounded knights with her healing magic and promised that it wouldn't take long. She was thinking about how Lord Fred wouldn't marry her if he knew the real her. She then said she would follow the dragon's presence into the forest, but Fred wouldn't let her go alone. Ulrich, Fred, and Lydia started walking. Lord Fred started smelling blood. Ulrich said this area hadn't been fully investigated yet because of the thick mist, and they couldn't tell where the monsters would appear from. After the recent earthquake, they haven't noticed any damage beyond the tremors. But Lord Fred suspects something was amiss and has been investigating. The fact that the knights were on the move must mean that Prince Edik had noticed the changes as well. Lydia asked Ulrich to shine a light over the bushes because she thought there was something. They found a cave and a lot of dead monsters near the entrance. The mist was flowing out from there. Inside the cave, a monster appeared, and Fred told Ulrich not to let any monsters get near Lydia. He also took out his sword and killed the monster with one slash. Lydia was shocked by how incredibly strong Fred was. Ulrich mentioned that Lord Wilfred was the best spearman in the country. He was skilled with a sword too, but with a spear, no one could match him. Fred told Ulrich to stay here in case monsters appear. They entered the cave, and Lydia asked if he was disappointed in her for being naive again. He told her not to worry because he knew she wouldn't falter against monsters like these. She told him to tell her if he ever started to dislike her, and that she was fine with being her concubine instead of his wife. However, Fred was certain that he wouldn't make her a concubine, and that he wanted to marry her, which was the reason he proposed. Lydia was distracted when she heard a weak voice. It was a little white dragon. She wondered if this dragon could be the same mystical kind as Lord Gramvint. When Lydia was still the dragon priestess, she asked Gram if he cared about this place. Gramvint responded that he was because she was here, and he protected this country just for her. Lydia wanted him to protect it forever. Gramvint promised to keep it safe as long as she stays here, and he said that the important thing was looking after her stomach. Gramvint told Lydia that she was his. Back to the present, Lydia rushed to the little dragon. She held it and noticed the blood. She figured that the earthquake must have caused the mountain to collapse, exposing the cave, and that's why the dragon was attacked by monsters. While hugging the dragon, she noticed a dragon's lightstone. The earthquake was probably caused by Lord Gramvint to let her know about this dragon. Fred asked if this dragon was emitting the mist, and she said it may have been calling for help. He wondered where its parents were, and Lydia said they were probably dead. The stone on the floor must be the dragon's lightstone, and this confirmed that the tale about the dragon's lightstone being a dragon's crystal was true. For a dragon with a power like Lord Gramvint, they could create a dragon's lightstone while they were still alive. But there were dragons whose bodies became dragon's lightstones upon death. Lydia asked Wilfred not to let anyone know about this because if anyone finds out, there may be dragon hunts targeting the lightstones. Not all dragons were capable of creating those lightstones, but ordinary humans couldn't tell the difference. Fred asked if this was something only a dragon priestess could do. To explain that, she would have to mention Lord Gramvint's secret, and she decided to say that she couldn't reveal his secret. She started crying because she knew the truth. Confused, Fred asked what was wrong because he didn't expect her to start crying. She said it was nothing and that she would take the lightstone with her. Fred was still worried, so he asked if something had happened to the baby dragon. A baby white dragon was so rare that they should be happy that they were able to protect it before it died. He wanted to know what was making her so sad and asked if there was nothing he could do. Lydia said she was grateful to him for showing her how to live a normal life, but if she revealed Lord Gramvint's secret, it might bring chaos to the country, and something bad might happen to this baby dragon and her. It also meant she wouldn't be able to marry him. She wondered if it would have been better if she had met Lord Wilfred before becoming the dragon priestess. But 2 years ago, she made a promise with Lord Gramvint. He could come for her at some point. The fact that the light from his dragon light stona had faded meant Lord Gramvint might have given up. Fred had no intention of forcing her to disclose the secret of the dragon priestess, but when it came to marriage, things were different because he had decided to protect her, and he meant every word of it, and he knew it was going to be a lifelong thing. He had never once considered going back on that promise. Lydia had never trusted anyone before, but she realized that Lord Wilfred was different. She started bawling her eyes out and revealed that Lord Gramvint was dying. This white baby dragon was the same mystical dragon as Lord Gramvint and the rune dragon. Powerful, long-lived dragons were called rune dragons, the mystical dragons. Rune dragons were born white, and this baby was Lord Gramvint's successor. In other words, Lord Gramvint most likely had no more than a year to live. She was supposed to be Lord Gramvint's last dragon priestess. She told him that she couldn't marry him because she was Lord Gramvint's bride. Shocked, Wilfred asked if she was telling him that the dragon priestess was the bride of the black vermilion dragon. She explained that it was the dragon priestess who enchanted Lord Gramvint. They were bonded, which means she was Lord Gramvint's chosen one. The mark was on her chest. 8 years ago, when Lydia was 10, a half-man, half-dragon came asking if she was the new dragon priestess. He was Lord Gramvint. Normally, he took the form of a dragon, but this was his true form. That's how they met, and Lord Gramvint had been with her since that day. One day, he asked her to show him her chest and put the mark of their bond on her. He couldn't have children with anyone else but her, and it was official that she was his. His promise to the country was to be with her, and for that, he protected this land. He then told her that he had a little time left. Even Lydia's own family looked down on her, and it was Lord Gramvint who gave her a place to belong. She had no regrets about the human world, so she wanted to be with him until the very end. She herself was enchanted by Lord Gramvint. With this, she thought she could stay with him forever. In other words, because of the dragon mark he left, she couldn't have children with anyone else. Wilfred figured that was the reason why she was talking about concubines. She said she had feelings for him, but even though she had been removed as the dragon priestess, Lord Gramvint's dragon mark hadn't disappeared. Moreover, the dragon priestess that Lord Gramvint wanted was supposed to be a girl with silver hair and blue eyes, and Leila was not like that. Fred asked if she was planning to die with Lord Gramvint, and she said that was her purpose as the last dragon priestess. That's what should have happened, but she had found herself drawn to Lord Wilfred, who had always been kind and looked out for her. But she couldn't bear the thought of Lord Gramvint, the only one she relied on emotionally, disappearing. She couldn't stay by his side until his life ended. This white dragon was the only one capable of inheriting Lord Gramvint's legacy, and she had to protect this child. Fred said they should go back to the mansion for now and take the dragon baby with them. At the mansion, Fred was worried about her, so he went to her room to see if everything was all right. She was sleeping with the baby dragon right next to her. At this rate, Lydia would disappear along with Lord Gramvint the moment his life ended. Fred wondered if it was because he couldn't have children that she had to bring him into this. Even though Lydia was human, it seemed like she alone existed in the world of dragons. He decided that this couldn't continue like this. The first thing he did the next day was to go to see Lord Gramvint. Even Lady Leila, who should be the dragon priestess, wasn't here, so this was convenient. He first introduced himself and asked what he was planning to do with Lydia, but Lord Gramvint was sleeping. He told him that she still wanted to live as a human. He started getting more and more frustrated and started yelling at him, asking what he was going to do about it. He said he wouldn't give Lydia back to him ever again. In the next scene, Lord Fred went to see Prince Edik. He didn't expect to see Fred and asked what the matter was. Fred said there was something he needed to report to him. He told him what happened, and Prince Edik asked if that was really true. Lydia couldn't lie and say there was something that came to mind from what Lydia had said so far. Lydia could have suggested to him the idea of concubines or a second wife. He used to think Lydia hated him, but the more important matter was not Gramvint's condition and his remaining time. He said they had found a successor for Gramvint, but he couldn't trust Miss Leila. Prince Edik responded that he had personally inspected Lydia's secret dragonstone several times, and she was the most worthy to be the Dragon Saintess. But in the Dragon Institution, his brother was the one in charge of the Dragonstone, and his brother acknowledged Leila as the Dragon Saintess. Fred said he wouldn't hand Lydia over even if Miss Leila wasn't the Dragon Saintess. Lydia was just a sacrifice, and no matter what she did, he would protect her at all costs. Prince Edik asked if he was planning to become the greatest dragon slayer in the country. Gramvint was not an evil dragon that needed to be eliminated, and moreover, Gramvint needed a Dragon Saintess. He wanted Wilfred to keep Lydia and the White Dragon under his protection in his palace, especially the White Dragon because it was better if its existence was not publicly revealed for now. He was confident that Fred would be able to protect them both. Wilfred guaranteed that he would protect them and left them there. Meanwhile, Leila was scolding the maids for not cleaning Gramvint's place. The maids were crying their eyes out because Gramvint looked at them. He was angry because they were there instead of the Dragon Saintess. Leila was shocked that he looked because he was in slumber. The maids said that after Lord Wilfred left, he opened his eyes and glared at them with anger. Prince Edik heard the commotion and asked what she was doing. He started scolding her because she allowed a commoner to approach Gramvint. Maids begged for mercy. Prince told her that commoners cannot approach Gramvint without his permission, and told them to remove them from here immediately. Leila wasn't expecting Prince Edik to be like that because when he was engaged with Lydia, he always seemed calm, even at parties. She used to think he was a simple and easygoing prince, someone who could easily change his feelings and be with her. But he told her that he was going to personally oversee the Dragon Saintess's duties here from now on, and ordered her to start working immediately. Leila couldn't believe this was happening to her. Meanwhile, Lydia woke up and was in her room. Since then, Lord Fred left the room saying he was going to work. She wondered if he had come to despise her because of what happened. Even though she was the Dragon Saintess, she was, first and foremost, the dragon's bride. She suddenly remembered that she had forgotten to prepare lunch for Lord Fred. She immediately left the room to prepare something while feeling bad that she forgot such a simple task that he entrusted her with. He proposed marriage to her, and yet she couldn't fulfill her duties as a wife properly. At the very least, she wanted to prove herself by completing the work he assigned her. However, before she could go to the kitchen, Lord Fred had already returned, and he wasn't alone. He was with a wonderful-looking woman. Lydia was crushed. Lord Fred was a wonderful person, kind and reassuring, just like Gramvint. But now that he knew she was his partner according to the dragon's fate, he might no longer want to marry her. She returned to her room. She didn't want to be a burden to him anymore. He didn't come to see her and hosted another woman instead. While grabbing her luggage and jacket, she was sure that the woman must be Lord Fred's beloved. He covered the white dragon with her jacket and left the palace. The dragon woke up because of the rush and she promised to protect him. She thought he must be hungry and wondered what kind of creatures could be eaten. Now that she mentioned she hadn't eaten anything either. The white dragon started making noises and fled. She followed him and saw that he went to a small water to cool off. She wondered if it created the mist itself and if it could have strong water-related abilities. She drank the pure water and sat under a tree while the dragon was playing with the water. She wondered what she should do now. The white dragon was incredibly rare, and if the dragon organization found it, they would certainly take steps to protect it. But if she hands it over to them, it would inevitably be given to her sister as the Dragon Saintess. However, she wasn't sure if her sister was truly the Dragon Saintess. She couldn't bear to hand it over to her. She was so dozed off by her thoughts that she didn't notice the baby bringing her an apple. They started eating apples, and she noticed that he liked tree fruits. She remembers that Gramvint sometimes absorbed magical elements from the plants in his enclosure without eating anything. But Bren used to eat with great appetite. Thinking about it now, she also recalled flying through the sky with Lord Fred on Bren's back. While looking at the sky and thinking how kind Lord Fred was, she saw Bren and was shocked. Bren wasn't alone because Fred was riding him. Fred looked worried. Lydia asked why he was here. He said he was worried and thought she was in her room. She asked how he knew she was here. Apparently, this place looked like it was surrounded by a rink of mist from above. He asked why she left the palace alone. If she had told him, he would have accompanied her and said he searched for her everywhere. She said she wanted to leave without being a burden. Besides, she couldn't bear an heir, and she thought that if this white dragon was found, it would be handed over to the dragon organization. Fred told her that there was no need to worry about that because he had spoken to Prince Edik about her. To stop the dragon organization, it was best to secure Prince Edik's support. He asked if that was the only reason she left without telling him, or if she was going to return to Gramvint. She said she thought Lord Fred hated her and saw him with a woman she thought was his girlfriend. Fred didn't even understand what she meant because that woman was merely the owner of a shop affiliated with their noble family and came to deliver something to him. He gave her a cute bag, and when she looked inside, it was the cream she had always used. She said she remembered receiving a similar cream before, and asked if it was him who gave it to her. He said he intended to keep it a secret for the rest of his life, but he gave her that cream as a token of gratitude for healing Bren's injury. At the time, when he went to her room, she wasn't there, and she was asleep, leaning against Gramvint so he couldn't speak to her. Since then, he began visiting her frequently, and he still holds that memory vividly. It was a sight he would never forget. She didn't know that he had been watching her all this time and wondered if that was normal. Fred cleared that he wasn't a stalker and he was simply observing her from afar. While hugging her, he said he had loved her since that time and that's why he wanted to marry her, and he promised to protect her for the rest of his life. Lydia said she was the dragon's partner and the dragon mark on her chest would never disappear even if Gramvint's time comes to an end. He told her not to worry about the dragon mark or the matter of children because he proposed to her. After all, she was the only one he wanted. It was true that he didn't like the fact that she bore a mark that belonged to Gramvint, though. He then wanted to see the dragon mark. Since it was him, Lydia was comfortable showing it. She said it was on her chest, and that's why she didn't allow any maid or anyone else to care for her. The moment she showed him the mark, he leaned over and kissed it. Surprisingly, it hurt her. Lord Fred looked at her and said from now on, she was his. In the next scene, Lord Fred and Lydia were having tea while Bren and the white dragon were playing with the water. Fred also noticed that the little one was always seen by the river. Lydia said it seemed strongly connected to the water element. She figured it absorbed magical energy from pure waters. Fred asked if she knew when Gramvint would wake up. She said no one knew that. The duration of his slumber changes every time. He then asked what he was thinking when he bonded with the Dragon Saintess, wondering if he didn't want the Saintess to marry a human. Lydia said Gramvint could take on a human form. He didn't expect her to say that, so he was quite shocked. She said he had a strong body and an incredibly handsome face. Even Mr. Fred was handsome, and she noticed there might be some resemblance between them. The white dragon got out of the water and sat on her lap. She said the white dragon was so cute, and Bren's features leaned towards masculinity. She noticed that Fred was silent and asked if something was wrong. He suddenly asked if Gramvint may have had children. He once heard he had a child with the Dragon Saintess, but that was hundreds of years ago. Even if there were a child, it would be hard to identify them. He asked if the Dragon Saintess might have been a descendant of Gramvint. She didn't think so because the Walt family, which she belonged to, hadn't existed for hundreds of years, so she didn't believe she was his descendant. If it were possible for them to be true partners, Fred realized that Gramvint was a rival. But Lydia told him that he was not a rival. But Fred didn't stop and said if he was serious about wanting to marry Lydia, then Lydia might return to Gramvint. Lydia told him to calm down and said it wasn't possible now to search for Gramvint's heir. The only one who could inherit his legacy was the legendary dragon, and since there was no valid reason to search for his lineage, there was no need to worry about this matter. Fred knew this was a curious topic, but he was worried that she would leave him, so he asked if she could promise him not to go anywhere without informing him. Lydia comfortably promised him. In the next scene, Fred asked Ulrich what the news was about the Grampant. Ulrich said there hadn't been any major changes, but during the investigation it was found that Lady Leila's Dragonstone was much smaller than Lady Lydia's Dragonstone. It seemed that the Dragon Institution had noticed this and had become suspicious. And also it was said that Gramvint opened his eyes once. Fred asked when that happened. According to the reports, he opened his eyes after Lord Wilfred left. It was during Lord Wilfred's recent visit to Gramvint and Prince Edik. Fred was surprised because he didn't sense at all that he was awake. He wondered if it could be that one of the servants misunderstood due to their fear of the Gramvint. In any case, Ulrich said it was best to finish his work early today because Lady Lydia was here. There was a banquet hosted by the Queen tonight. Lady Lydia styled her hair and wore a beautiful dress for tonight's banquet. She was worried that she looked strange, but Fred comforted her that she looked absolutely beautiful. She wasn't sure if it was appropriate for her to attend the banquet. Fred offered his hand and told her that she was his fiancée and the only one he would bring with him was her. He promised to stay by her side the whole time, so there was nothing to worry about. Lydia held his hand and said she trusted him. As they entered, everyone started looking at them, so Fred told her not to worry. He explained that he rarely attends banquets and he had never brought a partner with him before, so everyone's surprise was only because of that and nothing more. Lydia asked if that meant she looked strange. He said she was beautiful in everyone's eyes. Prince Edik came and greeted both of them. Lydia was surprised to see Leila. Prince Edik commented that she looked well and her appearance was stunning. Lydia stated that it was thanks to Lord Fred. Leila, on the other hand, didn't know what a manor was and started yelling around, saying she was nothing more than a filthy canary. Edik told her to hold her tongue and realize where they were. This was a banquet hosted by the Queen and asked if she intended to embarrass his mother. Furthermore, he told her to show some respect to Fred's fiancée. Fred reminded Leila that any verbal insult directed at Lydia would be considered a personal insult to him, and she was the only woman he held dear to his heart. Leila wanted to escape the situation, so she said Prince Edik's older brother, Royal, was here and they should go see him immediately. Leila left first and Prince Edik asked how the care of the dragon was going. She figured he was talking about the white dragon and said there was no change. It was growing quickly and in good health. Although his face didn't show it, Prince Edik looked extremely exhausted. She heard he had been keeping up with Leila's work. Fred decided to leave this place as well because they had drawn more attention than he anticipated, and there was no need to become the subject of rumors. Lydia asked if Lydia was aware that the relationship between Edik and Raoul wasn't exactly cordial. Fred responded that she always judged people by their social status, so there was no need to pay attention to what she said. As for Prince Raoul, although he was Prince Edik's older brother, he was not the son of the legitimate queen. He was the son of the king's concubine. The queen suffered from poor health and was unable to bear children for a long time, so the king married a concubine who gave birth to Prince Raoul. But a few years later, the legitimate queen gave birth to Prince Edik. And although both owed the title of prince, it was only natural for the son of the legitimate queen to be the rightful heir and the first crown prince. However, the king's concubine wasn't satisfied with this, and sought to make her son, Prince Raoul, the crown prince instead. It was clear that he himself believed he was more deserving of the position. The next day, Leila was once again cleaning Master Gramvint's place. Lady Leila hated her duty of being the dragon priestess, but since Prince Edik was always watching her from afar, she couldn't entrust anyone else to do this task for her. She thought Edik would ascend the throne soon, but what she was doing now wasn't queenly duties, it was just trivial chores. Prince Edik had to work and told her to take good care of Gramvint during his absence. Leila felt inferior and thought he was mocking her. She didn't become the Dragon Saintess for this, and this wasn't what she aspired to. Prince Raoul came and asked what she was thinking. She said that she was thinking about how terrible the situation was. He figured that she didn't get the attention she was hoping for at the banquet. She said it was because of Lydia, and she couldn't believe Wilfred was putting so much effort into her. Prince Raoul mentioned how even the girls at the banquet were admiring her dress and appearance. Leila found it unacceptable for Lydia to become a role model for the girls. She was also complaining that Prince Edik wasn't doing anything for her. He asked if she thought Edik would do for her what he did for Lydia. He provided everything for the Count Walt family and even added from his own funds to Lydia's salary from the Dragon Agency. When Edik once asked Leila if Lydia had a specific preference because he wanted to gift Lydia a dress or some clothes, but Leila said they had already provided Lydia with everything she needed. But they only bought her work clothes and used the money to buy her dresses. And since her family didn't buy her many dresses, she believed she deserved more. Prince Raoul asked if she haven't noticed that her salary was lower than Lydia's. He assumed they believed she didn't deserve a higher salary like hers. Lydia was shocked and said that it was impossible. He said that the Count Walt family was facing a financial crisis. Because they spent lavishly, they could no longer cover their monthly expenses, and this had become the talk of the town. That was the reason why they haven't bought her anything. They couldn't afford to buy her dresses. Moreover, the Count Walt family was causing trouble for the townspeople, using the claim that the Dragon Saintess was one of their descendants. This had made them deeply disliked. Leila couldn't stand it anymore and said they needed to return Lydia to the position of Dragon Saintess. Those trivial tasks suited her, and not Leila. She couldn't take this anymore. She took advantage of the fact that Lydia's Dragonstone lost its power, and with help she manipulated the stone at the Dragon Agency, which allowed her to become the Dragon Saintess. But only Gramvint knew how Lydia's stone regained its power or how it lost it in the first place. Her Dragonstone was different from the others and the humans couldn't easily tamper with it. If it were possible to make her stone glow using another stone, he must do something now. But Prince Raoul said it wasn't that simple. The situation at the Dragon Agency was extremely tense right now. Prince Edik was visiting the agency frequently to investigate what was happening, and he may have already started looking into the fake stone they used. He wanted her to display her authority as the Dragon Saintess in front of everyone, but he never imagined Edik would go as far as personally monitoring her because she failed to perform her duties. If they attempt to manipulate the stone again now, they would be exposed immediately, and everyone would know they were involved in this. Leila didn't agree with any of this because she thought she didn't become the Dragon Saintess to make Lydia happy. She asked him to either find a way to secure money or extinguish the light of her Dragonstone. She was tired of this situation and couldn't bear it anymore. Prince Raoul said he could handle the money because he had a good idea that might help them. In the next scene, Wilfred informed Lydia that he was heading to work. He was going earlier than usual today because monsters were appearing in the forest again. Even though Lord Gramvint's life hadn't ended yet, the protection should still be in place. But it felt like there were more and more monsters lately. Wilfred couldn't help but notice that the white dragon was full of energy, and it was eating more than before. Lydia explained that it was just absorbing magical essence from pure water. She mentioned that there was an old legend, like a fable, that says meeting a white dragon would bring happiness. Fred said he did think he saw something like that in a storybook he read when he was young. That was decades ago, and he had completely forgotten about it. Lydia said she was experiencing her share of happiness right now, and happiness was bound to find him too. After all, even after knowing the Dragon Priestess's secret, Lord Fred chose to stay with her. He said he found his own happiness, and it was the fact that she, Lydia, the one he had admired for so long, was here with him, and he still felt like this was a dream. After embarrassing Lydia with his words, Fred had to go. The white dragon seemed to be fond of Lord Fred as well. Lydia agreed with the dragon because he really was a wonderful person. He was strong, so there was no need to worry, but the fact that the monsters were more active lately was troubling her. She wondered if it could be that Lord Gramvint's cage wasn't as clean or pure as it should be. Even if her stepsister couldn't use purification magic, she could use magical potions instead, so it wasn't a big deal. Since the water flowing into the cage was pure, there shouldn't be a problem with it. Nonetheless, she couldn't help but be concerned for Lord Gramvint, and she really wanted the white dragon to meet him. Rick, Fred's servant, came and informed her that the tailor would be coming this afternoon and suggested that she eat lunch a little earlier. The other day, Fred mentioned that it was time to get a wedding dress made soon, but the idea of the wedding dress made her nervous. Sensing her nervousness, the white dragon started crying. Rick thought it might be because he showed up, but she didn't think that was it. It always saw him as an ally. Suddenly, an earthquake started happening again. The shaking was so violent that it was obvious it wasn't natural. Something must have happened to Lord Gramvint. She told Rick not to let the servants leave the mansion because they needed to evacuate the people from the town. After all, this was a natural occurrence. Worried, Rick asked where she was going. She said she was defending the mansion and she was going to cast a protective spell. She didn't have enough power to cast a protective spell over the whole town, but she should be able to cover the mansion at least. She successfully cast the spell and the shaking in the mansion stopped. Hans came worried, asking what was going on. Lydia told him to evacuate the townspeople here because she alone couldn't cast a defensive spell over the entire town, and the ground could eat them alive. Hans asked what she was planning to do. She said that she must see Lord Gramvint. The white dragon was still trembling and crying because of the earthquake. Lydia patted its head and told it to hide in Bren's cabin for a while. Ulrich arrived with a wyvern, asking for Lady Lydia in panic. He told her that they needed her help and that Lord Gramvint was going berserk. Lydia already figured that Lord Gramvint broke his cage, and Ulrich nodded. He had been rampaging, screaming her name. For someone as kind as Lord Gramvint to get angry must mean that someone had triggered him, and this also proved that she was still Lord Gramvint's dragon priestess. After what happened, she may never be able to return. But with Lord Fred here, she couldn't let this country collapse. She told Ulrich to take her there immediately. When she arrived, she saw that everything was almost in ruins. She heard Prince Edik yelling at Leila. He asked what she had done to Lord Gramvint and why his brother was here too. He hasn't been permitted to enter Lord Gramvint's cage. Leila insisted that she didn't know anything and swore on it. But Prince Edik didn't believe her and told the butler to bring the truth serum. Ulrich informed Prince Edik that they had brought Lydia. Lydia was shocked and asked what was going on, and they did Lord Gramvint. Prince Edik was a little bit relieved thanks to her being there. He told Lydia that he had stepped away for just a moment, and all of a sudden Lord Gramvint started going berserk. And when he rushed here, he saw those two in the cage. Leila blamed Lydia for this, even though she had nothing to do with it. Lydia noticed a sword on Lord Gramvint's neck. She asked what that sword was doing there. Ulrich heard that Lord Raoul drew his sword to try and save Lady Leila, but Lydia said this didn't happen. She knew Lord Gramvint would never start rampaging for no reason, and she glanced at Prince Raoul. She asked if they tried to stab Lord Gramvint while he was sleeping. Leila confessed that she just wanted to take one scale. Back when Raoul and Leila were talking, the idea Raoul had was to sell Lord Gramvint's scales. It would bring them fortune since dragon scales were used for medicine. If they were from the Great Black Dragon, everyone would want it. It was a good market and something no one could refuse. He said he would sell it for her, but she needed to keep her promise to him that she would make him the next crown prince. Leila wanted to be queen, but she didn't want to marry some weird prince. He said if she really didn't want to, she could poison Edik after marrying him, and it would be easier to poison him in the bedroom. After that, they rushed because Edik might come back, and it was better if he didn't find out. It seemed like it wouldn't be that simple, and Leila asked if a sword would do that job. He said they need to be careful not to hurt Lord Gramvint, and it was good things he was asleep. However, the moment they touched him with the sword, he woke up. Leila said she never wanted to hurt him, but she had no choice since she was out of money. Now that she learned that Leila had pointed a sword at someone as important as Lord Gramvint for money, there was no way Lydia could forgive her. She started chaining her to do this to Lord Gramvint. She didn't forget Prince Raoul and chained him too. They begged her to let them go, but she wasn't listening. At that moment, Lord Gramvint woke up and called for Lydia. She approached him, and he asked her to come with him. He called her his last and dearest dragon priestess. As Lord Gramvint held her, Prince Edik told Lydia not to go because Wilfred would be here any moment now. He begged her to wait until then, but Lydia reminded Edik that she was Lord Gramvint's last dragon priestess, and she was destined to be with Lord Gramvint until the very end. Lord Gramvint broke the chain spell that Ulrich was casting and went underground. In the end, Lord Gramvint wanted to return to the earth. Lord Gramvint took her to the place where he was born as the White Dragon. Lydia asked if he was in pain and said she would purify him right away. She asked why he didn't tell her that her sister never purified the magical essence. Lord Gramvint responded that his time was near, and he had no intention of waking until the very end. But she knew that he knew the White Dragon had appeared. When the White Dragon appeared, it was Lord Gramvint who caused the earthquake when he was supposed to be in hibernation. She said she wanted to see him, but Lord Gramvint said he could smell a human scent. She said it must be Lord Fred's scent and mentioned that he stayed with her every day. Gramvint asked if she wanted to go back. She decided to be honest and said she does. She had decided she wanted to spend her life with Lord Fred, but she couldn't just leave him behind. As Gramvint moved his hand to grab her more, she told him to calm down and she would purify him more. He told her not to worry and said if that black-haired man came, she could go with him. And if he didn't come, then she was going to stay here and sleep with him. Lydia said this was the underground world and Lord Wilfred wouldn't be able to come here. She said she would stay with him until the end. Besides, she tried to kill her sister Leila and Lord Raoul. Everyone there saw it happen, and no matter how foolish they may be, Leila and Lord Raoul were still humans. Even Lord Fred would despise her if he found out. Gramvint told her that if he truly cared about her, that black-haired man would come, and until then, he wanted to sleep. She didn't want him to sleep because if he slept now, his purification would stop. He kissed her and said it was fine. As Lydia fell asleep in his hands, he said he already knew how this would end. He wanted Wilfred to hurry before he lost control again. When Fred arrived, he asked what had happened because they had received a report that Lady Lydia had been summoned by Lord Gramvint. He asked where they were. Edik told him that Lord Gramvint had gone berserk and all this devastation was his doing. Leila and Raoul must have angered the dragon, but that wasn't all. Lady Lydia went underground with Lord Gramvint. He said they must rescue her immediately because even as the dragon priestess, they couldn't predict what an enraged Lord Gramvint would do to her, and if they didn't act fast, Lady Lydia might never return. Looking at the massive hole in the ground, Fred said he was going to rescue Lydia, and he only needed Ulrich to come with him. Right now, the entire country was in chaos from the earthquakes, and because of the dragon's roar, the monsters near the city had started going mad. They should send the rest of the dragon knights to handle them. Edik agreed with this plan and said he was counting on him to bring her back. Fred had no time to waste, so he hopped on Bren and started going underground with Ulrich. They heard a dragon's roar coming from the ground. Lord Gramvint was rampaging and they must rescue Lady Lydia quickly. When they arrived, Fred started calling for Lydia everywhere. Ulrich found her lying over there and she wasn't moving. Fred held her in his arms and told Ulrich to take her and leave this place. Worried, Ulrich asked what he was going to do because this place could collapse at any moment. If this place collapses, the surface would sink as well, and if that happens, Lady Lydia wouldn't be able to escape. After handing her to Ulrich, Fred kissed Lydia and told him to take her back. He said there was no reason for her to die here. Fred faced Lord Gramvint and told him that he wouldn't let him keep Lady Lydia, and he would not let this place collapse. Even though he was not a dragon priestess, he could still tell that Lord Gramvint intended to die here. If Lady Lydia remains in this state, then Lord Gramvint would never return to his former calm self. He told Gramvint that he wasn't as soft as Lady Lydia. He told Ulrich to go, and Ulrich promised to bring Lydia back no matter what. Before opening her eyes, Lydia heard Prince Edik's voice ordering the knights. She could also hear Lord Ulrich giving orders. When she heard him ordering people to hold this place until Lord Wilfred returns, she woke up in panic and worry. She was on the surface and she saw the massive hole. Lord Gramvint was rampaging because she failed to purify him completely. She asked Prince Edik why she was here and what happened to Lord Gramvint. Edik was glad that she was awake and told her that Ulrich brought her back, but Lord Wilfred was still down there. Lydia refused to believe this and continued asking where he was. Ulrich saw her and said he was glad she was safe. He told her that Lord Wilfred went underground to rescue her. He remained behind to prevent this kingdom from collapsing and stayed behind for her. Lydia couldn't believe that he came all the way to the underground world for her. She then figured that the cloak on her was Wilfred's. Lord Fred was still there fighting for her in the kingdom, but she was the one who was supposed to die. The tremors that still shake the ground were the sounds of Lord Gramvint battling Lord Wilfred. If she had stayed, Lord Gramvint and she would have simply fallen into slumber together in that underground world. But now she was here while Lord Fred was down there. The reality slapped her in the face and she realized that she must save Lord Fred because there was no reason for him to take her place, because she was the one who was supposed to be there as the last dragon priestess. She tried to run towards the hole, but Ulrich held her. He told her to step back because she would be caught in the collapse. Lydia couldn't even see clearly because of the tears. The waterway appeared, and Prince Edik told everyone to fall back because the current was too strong. He then noticed that the white dragon was there and the water's flow changed. Lydia told Ulrich to stop because if he did this, Lord Fred wouldn't be able to return and she must go to him now, or he would be trapped underground forever. Ulrich told her to stop because they had no choice but to wait for him to escape on his own. Lydia had no hope that he would win and was sure he would die. The tremors had stopped, and even if Lord Gramvint had fallen, if Lord Fred wasn't here, she saw no point in being here. The last great tremor felt like Lord Gramvint's final roar. Most likely he had perished. And yet she had dragged Lord Fred into the fate of the dragon priestess. Now Lord Fred may never return because of her.